obedience in the law. I'm not talking about obedience to other people, but I'm talking about obedience of the word. Okay? So my topic today is obedience. It's part 2. So when we walk in introduction first time. God has a great plan. God has planned a great plan for all of us. All of his thoughts, all of his plans, all of his purposes are all good. Okay, you know God wants no good belonging. Okay, there's something and good. His plans for blessings, his plans for prosperity, for healing, for restoration, for deliverance, for increase, and long life, they're all intact. Okay, the plans belong intact. Okay, God never changes his mind once he has spoken. The moment he spoke his word, he'll never change his mind. Or suppose Emmy speak penis now, you're gonna use sin. He doesn't change his mind. His word stays. Okay, but it's up to us now. He never changes his mind once he has spoken. Every promise, every word that comes forth from God's mouth, they will never be altered. How do I know? By me go back in Psalm 89, verse 34. Psalm 89, 34. It's good to go back again, because many times people are not listening. So I have to take you back again. Psalm 89, verse 34, NIV. I will not violate my covenant or alter what my lips have uttered. Once for all, I have sworn by my holiness, and I will not lie to David. I put my name in, I will not lie to Joyce. Okay, that's from the NIV, but from Message Bible, this is what it says. Message Bible, it calls them. This is what God is saying. Do you think I'd withdraw my holy promise? Do you think I would withdraw my holy promise or take back words I've already spoken? This is God. Do you think I'd withdraw my holy promise or take back words that I've already spoken? I've given my words, my whole and holy word. Do you think I would lie? This is what God is saying. Do you think I would lie? So he's not promise belonging. He's asking you, do you think I would lie? Now last week we saw in the Bible in Hebrews, it is impossible for God to lie. It is impossible for God to lie. So he swore covenant. The New Testament is a blood-sworn covenant. Blood of Jesus has sealed, stamped, and signed every promise in this Bible, in the book. God will never lie. Okay. The only thing that can cause these promises not to fulfill is our own disobedience. Did you hear that? We can stop all these promises from coming fulfilled because of our disobedience. Disobedience law, direction law, God law, guidance belonging, law instructions belonging. He got instructions when he gives you the main word, the original word he gave to you, and you are holding on to that word. While you are holding on to that word, you're going through wilderness for the fulfillment of that promise. But in the middle of that wilderness, you know what's going to happen? That he will give you little instructions to keep on walking. Did you hear me? He will give you little instructions. Click instruction. The main promise and give you the beginning of your journey. So everybody is the main word and we give you in the beginning. So as he gives you in the beginning, the end journey, end one is not there, but you're going to walk through that wilderness. As you walk through, in the middle of your journey, he's going to give you little instructions. And those little instructions will be maybe hearing blow you, or mouth blow you, or attitude blow you, or everybody guiding you during that during this wilderness journey. He will guide you through. So those are the instructions that you're going to obey. Did you hear me? Those are the little instructions. Many times we don't take note of the little instructions. We take note of the big ones. Because you will like, hurry up, go look in and land with milk and honey. But in the middle, those are the important instructions to take you through. And many times we miss those little instructions in the middle of the journey. And that's why many times we throw the towel and we thought, I give up, it's not working. Hallelujah. Okay, but God is saying here, do you think I'd withdraw my holy promise? Or take back words I've already spoken? I've given my words, my whole, W-H-O-L-E, my whole and holy word, H-O-L-Y, whole and holy word. Do you think I would lie? No way. Hallelujah. So disobedience, we look in the Oxford Dictionary, is failure or refusal to obey. It's simple. Obey what? Obey his voice, obey his instruction, obey his guidance. Hallelujah. I got biblical example here. Can you Bible you Genesis chapter 6. Genesis chapter 6, verse 11 to 22. So this is one of the so many biblical examples, but I will use Noah's life. Genesis chapter 6. My presence for God is that. It's like fire here. Genesis chapter 6, verse 11 to 22. Okay, as I'm going to read, me like him, you know, when we are reading the word, I want your imagination to work. Okay, so you thinking, during that time of Noah, there was no such thing as rain. There was no rain. Okay, so they don't know what rain is about. They don't know what flood is about. So me like him, as I read this, I want you to start imagining. When you read the word, imagination must run. You picture him you yet. Okay, hallelujah. So God's instruction to Noah was to build the ark. Okay, Genesis chapter 6, verse 11 to 22. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. Give me the extra light. Okay, starting from verse 11 to 22. Let me talk about them. Now the earth was corrupt. The earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. Hallelujah. God saw how corrupt the earth had become for all the people on the earth and had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence. Because of them, I'm surely going to destroy both them and the earth. Both them and the earth. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. So make yourself. So God is now telling Noah, make yourself an ark. Make yourself an ark. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood and make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are going to build it. So he gave instruction. I'm not going to read it. He gave instruction to Noah how high. I think it's 4 stories high. This is like ark. And then it's maybe 1 or 2.5 a size of a football field. That's how big this ark is. So look him. In that time there was no rain and no flood. So Noah now has been instructed to build this ark. Okay, I'm going to read on. I'm going to bring flood waters. I'll start from verse 17. I'm going to bring flood waters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has the breath of life in it, everything on earth will perish, but I will establish my covenant with you. And you will enter the ark. You and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and of every kind of creature. Okay. Okay, go down. Okay, look in chapter 7. Chapter 7. Okay, I'll stop there. Okay. But stop, Lord. Okay, I want to get your imagination now. There was never rain, there was no flood. And God now talking Noah, build me an ark. You build this ark, this big, this high, you build it. Okay, you know how many days Noah built that ark for? 120 days. That ark was built for 120 days. If you study further, you will find out everything. 120 days, he built this ark. 20 days or years, I cannot remember. He built that ark for that long. Okay, imagine, while Noah is cutting wood in the bush and bringing it out with his sons, while he's bringing them out, imagine the people. Imagine the people, the mockery, the humiliation, because there's no such thing as rain, there's no such thing as flood. So while Noah is cutting this, because of obedience to God's instruction, Noah is beginning to cut, and he's bringing all the timbers in, and he's starting to build this huge big boat. He's building this huge big thing. Okay, while he is building, all this little spark man will come, hey, you silly old man, now you building boat now. Rain no sa come no here, now no get flood here. Ay, long man here, no get same blow you. He kept on being laughed at. He kept on being criticized. He kept on going through humiliation after humiliation every day for 120 days or 20 years. 20 days. He kept on being mocked at, humiliated, everything. But you know what? Noah was not moved. Why? Because he heard from God. When you hear from God, it's a revelation. It's stepped here. You can say what you want. I'm not getting moved because God will never lie. Okay, so Noah kept on building, kept on building, kept on building, and keep on thinking, God, people are saying this, but God, how long this is going to be? How many years now? I'm still building. But he heard from God. He heard the voice of God, and they know that God spoke. So he stood. Okay, I'm going to get something here. So they were saying, you silly old man, you're wasting your time building this big thing. Where is your rain? Hallelujah. It's never rained before. How will it fall? Are you sure you heard from God? Are you sure you heard from God? Despite of all that humiliation and shame, Noah continued building. What kept him going? He heard from God. Yes. He heard from God. He heard the voice of God. He knows the voice of God. Church, you know, when God has spoken to you about your promise, time you open Bible below you, spotlight. Holy Spirit spotlighting promise below you. Holy Spirit highlighted that promise and you took it. I'm going to stand on this word. This is my promise. Something happened inside of you. This is my word. I'm going to stand on this for my situation. Hallelujah. And you have been holding on to that promise like dear life. And people around you want to blow you by hand and you want to all by crap not to call them. Aye. Lose thing ya. Lose thing you wait long time. Are you sure that this fake stuff works? Are you sure? You know, looking God, now I'm talking to Solia. Are you sure this works? This is what people are going to say to you. And temptation after temptation, pressure after pressure coming, voices around you saying, give up, lose thing. You not do nothing, you know, say this. These are happening. These things are happening. Noah, imagine Noah, 120 days, I cannot really remember, 120 days or years, he waited. He kept on building. And you are only how many years? How many years you've been standing on the word? Only 1 year. And Noah stood 120. He stood and he stood and he stood and he stood. And there comes long man, stop him. Not at rain. Stop it. Imagine this is happening. This is what's happening. Noah kept on going. People around you have been mocking you. Did you really hear from God? Are you sure this faith stuff works? And they put in pressure. But you know what? When the pressure is on, that's the moment you stand. I'm going to stand. I'm not moving. I know my God. This is the new sworn covenant. It's the blood sworn covenant. God will never lie to me. Talk long and talk here. And this is when I want them blood long in here. Hallelujah. You don't move. There is a moment where you have to take up your position and stand. Don't be moved. You know you heard from God. Don't give up. How many people have given up and they didn't see the breakthrough? They've given up, all like shortcut. But you know what? Like last week we talked here, you've got to go through the process. The process is very important. It's not the word, it's not the conquering of the word. It's the process is very, very important. You've got to go through the process because during that process, all those little words, little advices you have to obey. One after another, obey every little word before you get through. Hallelujah. And in Bible, you can know Jude 3. There's no chapter. Go to Revelation, now go backwards. Go to the book of Revelation and then go backwards. Jude lies in there. Hallelujah. Jude 3. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, God. Verse 3. The Message Bible I have to write insisting and begging that you fight with everything you have in you. I have to write insisting and begging that you fight with everything you have in you. For this faith entrusted to us as a gift to God and cherish it. This faith, hallelujah, For this faith entrusted to us as a gift to God and to cherish it. I'll read it from NIV. Jude verse 3. Hallelujah. Verse 3, dear friends, although I was very eager to write to you about the salvation we share, I felt I had to write and urge you to contend for the faith that was once for all entrusted to the saints. Contend, you fight for it, you struggle for it. That means you have to fight for that word. You have to fight to make sure that word works. I have to write insisting and begging that you fight with everything you have. Hallelujah. In your life. For this faith entrusted to us as a gift to God and cherish it. Can in Bible come Hebrews chapter 10 verse 22. Hebrews 10, 22. I'll just lay foundations and we're going to go on. Hebrews 10 verse 22. Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. For he who promised, who is he who? God. Let us hold unswervingly. Holy person, this is a promise. Don't move to the left, don't move to the right. Hold it unswervingly. For he who promised is faithful. God is faithful. And he will make sure that word comes to pass. Okay. We obey all these instructions. Our confident expectation for good. Continue. Hope I define it as our confident expectation for good. Good's going to come out of this. Hallelujah. So if you know that you heard from God, don't give up. Turning Bible, you come to Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. There's plenty of scriptures, so we're going to take our time. Genesis chapter 7, verse 1. Genesis 7, verse 1. Hallelujah. Okay. We're going about Noah. Verse 1, it calls him. The Lord then said to Noah, go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. And then go on, and then come to verse 11. Verse 11, let me skip him. Verse 11. Verse 11 to 12, let me talk about them. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth. Before no got rain, or what I say, come forth underground. Okay? So Noah was very patient. 120 days or years, I cannot remember. He kept on building and building and building. And one day, the great deep burst open. Look him. Hallelujah. On that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and the floodgates of heavens were opened, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. First time rain put down. Why? God was bringing his glory now. So all this man Mary, all you have to talk, you know, say rain, the flood in the come, you long, you stop. But then all of a sudden, God told Noah, get inside, close the door, all those animals, bring them 2 by 2, pass him gate now, and pass him double up. And then the rain fell, and underneath here, springs from underneath burst open, and flood it come under. And then rain put down. Open floodgate heaven, open, rain put down. It don't look like rain like you said, look him lawyer. This is real rain from on top and underneath. And you know what? There was no time for those people mocking. Only kid up run long, yeah? All okay. Many of you believe something. God must have spoken to him. Now you will talk play long and no, they cannot come in. Why? The gate is shut. The ark is shut. You have been given all that 120 years or days to make your life straight. Then now the door is closed. The rain kept pouring and pouring and pouring. You know what? All you can not like go to the top, highest mountain. They tried going to the highest mountain so that all you can escape the flood, but nothing. Rain put on going up the top mountain, covered. Everyone drowned. Disobedience. They drowned because they didn't know. Noah only himself with his family was saved in the dark. Why? He obeyed God. In the midst of chaos and disorder, God's hand was open for his child, a righteous child. Manisa had him talked of God. And Noah was saved because of the ark. He obeyed God. Hallelujah. Check him 22 and 24. Verse 22 and 24. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. 22 ito also. That Genesis 7, verse 23 and 24. 23 ito also. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. Men and animals, the creatures that move along the ground and the birds and the air were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. Chapter 8. Look at chapter 8, the first verse. But God remembered Noah. God remembered Noah. You are standing and standing and standing, and only talk to you. If God remembered Noah, He will remember you. Amen. God remembered Noah. And when God remembers you, what happens? He will come and rescue you. He will step down and rescue you. God remembered Noah. Okay, chapter 9. Hallelujah. Chapter 8, but God remembered Noah. Chapter 9, verse 8. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you, and with you, with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you, the birds, the livestock, and all the wild animals, all those that came out of the ark with you, every living creature on earth, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all life be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. He made a covenant. I'll not do it again. Because of one man's disobedience. I want to ask you people one question. What if Noah disobeyed? What if? What if Noah disobeyed? Hallelujah. Can the Bible come to Hebrews chapter 11 verse 7? Hebrews chapter 11 verse 7. His name was written in the great hall of faith. Hallelujah. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 7. 11 verse 7. Hallelujah. Verse 7, let me talk about them. By faith, Noah, who, hallelujah, by faith, Noah, when warned about things not yet seen, he was warned about things not yet seen. What was the things not yet seen? The flood. Hallelujah. Warned about things not yet seen. In holy fear, he built an ark to save his family. And by his faith, he condemned the world and became the heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. I like this. By his faith, he condemned the world. He proved them wrong. My God will always come through. You see, he condemned the world. I like that word. By faith, by his faith, he condemned the world and he became heir of the righteousness that comes by faith. You see how God comes through? If you're faithful and you keep on standing, keep on standing, keep on standing. Man, do better. You're wasting time, Loloto. Don't. Take the book, take the word, hide it inside of you. They can throw the book, but the word is in you. Hallelujah. Thank you, God. Okay, I'll go to the next one. Let's go to the next example. Genesis chapter 12. This is about the call on Abraham's life. Genesis chapter 12. Hallelujah. Thank you, Father. Genesis chapter 12. It's about the call of Abraham. Bible is up, starting from verse 1. The Lord had said to Abraham, number 1, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you, and I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you, and all the people on the earth will be blessed through you. All the people on the earth will be blessed through you. So Abraham's instruction, before he saw God's hand, he has to follow instruction. Number 1 instruction, leave your what? Country. Losing place below you. Number 2, leave your people. Number 3, your father's household. Lose him, house blow, Papa blow you. Lose him. You know why? Because we never grow when we are still with our parents.
Yes.
We never grow unless we step out. And Abraham wouldn't grow if he kept on sitting and sitting and sitting in that place. So God told him, you get out of your father's house, get out of your country, and get out from this place, because I will show myself to you. I have a call on you. I have my own purpose and plan why I created you, Abraham. Get out from your people. Get out from your country. Get out from your father's house. I'm going to show you what to do. You know what? This is his call. So Abraham had to follow instruction. Okay, so this one we look at them, there was a separation. His call on Abraham, he separated Abraham. There are times in your life God will separate you, and the separation is from the word of God. The moment you start studying the word, you know what? You are now set apart. The moment you start to spend time in the word, you are now set apart. There's a call on your life. You're set apart to serve God. Okay, so Abraham now is set apart. Abraham obeyed God and he left. No idea where he was going. Noah had no idea. Will it rain? Abraham, no idea. God, he talk. You come out. Now you go. Walk about the bush. I'll show you. Abraham obeyed God. He left. No idea where he was going. No idea how he's going to, survive. He had no idea who's going to provide for his family. But he had God's voice. These days I'm hard, yeah? I think in the Old Testament it was easy. These days he had, because I can something he like mina. Mind blowing bagara penis. So when God calls us, na ba kisi money where? How when we feed him on family blow me? Na bank account blow me zero. Na how when we kiss him car na go all same. How? But see, Abraham, he had God's voice. He stood up, packed his family, got his belongings, walked. I don't know where we are going to go. You will see little boots where we are going. Let's go, because God said. So he moved. Can you Bible it come long? Hebrew 11 verse 8 to 10. Hebrew 11 verse 8 to 10. See, obedience. Obedience. Hebrews 11 verse 8 to 10. Hallelujah. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 8 to 10. Thank you, God. Verse 8 to 10. Let me talk about them. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, he obeyed and he went. He obeyed and he went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land, like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. So look him, Abraham losing home belonging, he took off. Hallelujah. In Genesis chapter 15 verse 1, there are plenty scriptures so that I'm good plan for you. You can go through the word later. Genesis chapter 15 verse 1. God is trying to take off the limits. The mindset of Abraham. So Genesis chapter 15 verse 1. Let me talk also. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abraham. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abraham said, O sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus. And Abraham said, you have given me no children. So a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him. This man will not be your heir. Hallelujah. This man will not be your heir, but a son coming from your own body will be your heir. He took him outside. Look up at the heavens and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, then he said to him, so shall your offspring. So what's happening here is, God, he told him, Abraham, that he will be the father of many, many nations. Abraham is 100 years old, Sarah is 99. So Abraham kira me talk, what you talk about, you need to plan. May come up people begin in here. Now I'm looking very long and from Sarah. What I'm walking in, Abraham. And he's looking at this woman, she's going to be a mother to my child. Abraham. and then Abraham is looking at his body. Makuku, Mokoko. All the factory production center closed. Everything, they cannot bear any children. They're barrens. But God said, you will be the father of nations. You and your wife, you will be mother and father of many, many nations. So when they're looking at the circumstances, impossible. But God said, and they had Abraham. They had God. They had the voice of God. You are the one I choose. Not anybody, not Hagar, not Ishmael. Ishmael is not going to be the promised child. Isaac will be the promised child. You know what? While I was studying this, eye blew me open. Hallelujah. I'm going to read something here. Thank you, God. Hallelujah. See, they were Abraham and Sarah. They looked at their situation, impossible. So they decided to help God. They decided we'll help God. So Hagar got up, Hagar got up and told Abraham, you sleep one time, walk Mary below me. Now she will give the child to you. They're helping now. They're trying to help God. God doesn't need your help. Some people, when they're believing God for a church car, this happened before, I saw it. Only believing God for a church car. And you know what they did? They went to the provincial government, asked for whatever, and when they gave them that church car, they said, by faith we bought it. No, you help God. And in the end, that thing was a struggle, frustration, division, that vehicle caused. Because it was not from God. Men made it. Men brought it. You see? So what's happening now is they saw this thing not working. They saw their body. You be helping God there. God did not look. And we don't understand. We cannot bear any chance of you be helping God. Some talk, you sleep one time, walk Mary below me. Abraham sleep with her. Now they come up with Ishmael. Only come up with Ishmael, thinking that Ishmael will be the promised child. God said, no, not him. Not him. You know, God made up his mind. Nobody will, flesh will not produce this. I'm going to be the one. I get the glory, not men. So you know what happened? Let me get up now. Hang on, let me smile my nose. I'm getting very excited. Their impatience and disobedience, they tried to help God. It gave birth to flesh. It gave birth to struggle. It gave birth to frustration. That was his mind. Anything that you give birth with flesh, it causes struggle, frustration, hallelujah, and headache, division, kind something, waste of money, because you did it yourself. Okay, so descendants of Ishmael, only come up in Ishmael, that's the child of impatience. Ishmael now, the generation belonging to him, the descendants are now causing a lot of trouble, the Arabs, the Arab nations. Okay, look him. So in Genesis chapter 7, God, so if you come to Genesis chapter 7, I'm going to show you something here. Hallelujah. In Genesis chapter, okay, look him. Genesis chapter 6, he come down. Is it Genesis chapter 7? Yeah. God remained very, very quiet. What's that scripture? It's not this one. Sorry, I missed. Which one is that after God remained quiet very long time? Yeah, okay, I got it. Genesis chapter 16, you come down to verse 19, verse 15. Come down to verse 15. Genesis 16, verse 15, look at it. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore him Ishmael. Okay, suppose you go to verse chapter 17 now, the covenant of circumcision. Chapter 17, but look at it. When Abram was 99 years old, you subtract 99 years old from 86. When he had that baby, he was 86 years old. And then in 99 years old, 13 years, God remained very quiet. After they sinned against, disobeyed him. God was very, very quiet for 13 years, 1-3. 13 years, God never came to them. Very quiet. Okay, listen to this again. This is how amazing about God, how he doesn't change his mind. When Abraham was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him again, and he said, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless. I will confirm my covenant between me and you, and will greatly increase your numbers. Abraham fell face down, and God said to him, as for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of, he is affirming him, I chose you. I chose you to be the father of nations. I chose Sarah to be the mother of nations. Okay, while I was studying, Holy Spirit showed me something here. Hallelujah. God didn't change his original plan because of their age. Hallelujah. You know why? Because that promised child God chose must come out from Abraham and Sarah. They had the right. Abraham and Sarah have the right DNA. Listen, he chose Abraham, Sarah, not Abraham and Hagar, because Sarah was the one had qualities inside the DNA. Abraham and Sarah had to produce the promised child. Okay, look him. They had the right DNA. They had the qualities inside of them that can only put together to make Isaac the promised child. Come along, Psalm 139. I'll show you. See. Sampai lo ini satu konsep. Ayah, kau ni lagi minapa papa na nakla mama. Why na mama belum ini Islameri na why na papa belum? You know what? God knows what he was doing, because inside your mother there are qualities and there are DNAs that God's gonna use to make you. Inside of your father there are qualities and DNAs to make you, not another person. So Psalm 139. Come. Hallelujah. You know, when I read this, I started to thank God for my late parents, my late father and my late mother. They had qualities in them that I have now. In each one of them, there were qualities imparted into me. And I never knew until this last study blew me. Psalm 139, verse 1 to 16. Let's read together. Let's read it. Okay, let me talk about them. Oh Lord, you have searched me, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you already know it completely. Before we talk, he knows what's going to come out from our mouth. Wow. You hem me in, behind and before. You have laid your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light becomes night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. Hallelujah. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. Okay, listen to this, starting from verse 13. For you created my innermost being. Inside me, God put them together. Let me talk. You knit me together. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Time mama blowing bell. He knitted you all together already. He called you by name. He knows that you will be Nancy. He knew that you were Salome. He knew you were Elizabeth. He knew you were Nicholas. He knew you were Camillus. God knew it already. You created my innermost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. You know what? if you have a very low self-esteem, if you look down on yourself a lot, read this book. God knew you even while your mother was expecting you. He knew you. Hallelujah. So look him. This is what I wrote here. God chose our parents. He chose our parents. He is the one that put everything together in us. Our parents have qualities together. Our parents have qualities in their DNA to produce God's perfect plan. Look him many times. I sit down and we talk. Me plus I look him. Me plus 7 plan of family. Okay, I'm kissing passing the daddy. Okay, it's like kissing little passing the mama the here. Okay, wisdom no God daddy and it's like kissing. It's like there are qualities in our parents. And God put our parents together, no mistake. He put our parents together to produce you. You Robert. You Gerald. You Miss Bill. He put your parents together in the DNA and in the qualities your mother, your father, he put together. You Nancy, you Grace. He put you together. You know why? Here's a call. It won't come from another woman. It will not come from another father, but he knows what he's doing. He chose Abraham and Sarah. He chose those qualities because out of Abraham and Sarah will produce Isaac and the generations onward. Why? He's keeping his covenant. He is protecting what he's going to do. He's protecting his call. Can you get what I'm saying? Hallelujah. Yeah. God created you unique, special. That is why he chose you and he set you apart. He designed each trial. Listen to this. He designed each trial. All of us are not going through the same trials. My trial was my marriage problem. My late husband's trial was his sickness. Each one has different trials. Some of your trials are your children. Some of your trial is your finances, work, your children, other things. We all go through different trials. You know what? He designed those trials accordingly. Hallelujah. He designed each trial to develop you. I said develop. I didn't say build. I said to develop you. To bring out that quality inside of you. His quality inside of you. So you're getting provoked, you're getting pushed around, you want pressure after another, going through refining, you're going through refining fires. It's part of the building up. He's making you, he's building, he's preparing you. God knows what he is doing. He knows how much you can take, how far you can go. Turn in Bible in 1 Corinthians man. Me cry when I saw this. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. 1 Corinthians 10, 13. See, God knows you cannot take, he wouldn't put sickness on me. I don't have that strength to take it. I had that strength, I had the capability of dealing with my marriage problem. He knows you. He knows that you cannot take this. He won't put it on you. Hallelujah. But the devil is the one that does that. But God intervenes and takes us through. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Hallelujah. Chapter 10, verse 13. Verse 13. Hallelujah. Let me talk about 7. In the 2 Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 13. Let me talk about them. No temptation has seized you except what is common to men. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can stand up under it.